Thank you. Well, according to Doris Day, pardon me, the best thing to do with the best things in life is to give them away. And that is my topic for today. Give it away. And what does that mean? Well, I know since 2020, we spent a lot of time giving things away, right? To the point where the charities were beginning to say, no more. But that's not the kind of giving it away I'm talking about. It's sort of like this, although this is a bit what we might call extreme. After suffering years with a failing liver, Brenda Jones learned that she would need a liver transplant to survive. Though she was 69 years old, she wanted to live many more years, and with a healthy liver, she could. So the doctors placed her on a liver transplant list, hoping a donor would eventually appear. Brenda waited for a full year before she received the call from her doctors that a match had been found. Thankful that a donor liver had been found, Brenda planned her transplant surgery with great anticipation. But before the procedure was performed, she received another call as well. The second call was also from her transplant surgeon at Baylor. He told Brenda about a 23-year-old woman, Abigail Flores, who had been flown into the hospital that day. Abigail needed a liver transplant as well, and without it, she would not live for another 24 hours. And most important, the liver that was a donor match for Brenda was also a donor match for Abigail. The choice was totally up to Brenda, but she did not hesitate. She gave permission for the surgical team to give the liver to Abigail. And as a result, Abigail survives to this day. It was one of the most profound acts of generosity ever seen by the doctors, and Brenda affected numerous lives in the process. And as luck would have it, Brenda was notified 4 days later that another liver was available for her. Most of us don't face quite such a monumental decision. Some of us do. But what is the lesson in this? The lesson is that we're a child of the universe. And the universe is abundant. The universe has no limits. The universe has no favorites. The universe is completely objective. And is that for me? Okay. Got it? Thank you. I guess you weren't seeing enough of my double chin there. So we were not meant to ever suffer. We were not meant to ever struggle or be in pain. All of that is the part of the human condition, but just because it's part of the human condition does not mean it's permanent. It does not mean it's the capital T truth. It's not the reality unless we make it our reality. That's not to say that we don't go through things. We go through things, but we don't live in them. But God is a generous God. He has unlimited, she has, it has, however we want to call it, the universe, spirit, whatever it is, has unlimited, not only unlimited, I'm not even going to say has unlimited, is unlimited. It's unlimited, and it in no way desires to limit us. But the most important thing is to take care of yourself first and your family, because that's what's important. There is no accident in that they tell you in an airplane, if the plane has a problem, you put on your own oxygen mask first, because if you don't, you can't take care of anybody else. So you need to take care of your own needs and everyone else's needs first as well. And the third thing is that just being a generous giver does not prosper you totally. You also have to be a generous receiver, a welcoming receiver, a loving receiver. If you are a reluctant receiver, if you are a reluctant receiver, giving does not prosper you. Because it's one and the same. If you cannot receive, then someone else cannot give. And you are stopping that circulation, stopping that flow. So you have to have love and compassion for yourself as a receiver as well, or you can't have it for others. So you've heard of that. I think, I don't know what I'd call it, an exhortation or something that says it's more blessed to give than to receive. And I looked in the Bible, I could not find anything that said that. I think that was something that the original church fathers made up. But the ones I found were about receiving the Spirit of Christ, God in man. Which comes first, giving or receiving? It's like the chicken or the egg. I mean, whatever is in front of you. I read a book once when I was having a really, really down period in my life called Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. And she said in that book that and Charles Fillmore has said this, and Catherine Ponder has said this, if you are not receiving, if you are not feeling a sense of fullness, if you are tight on money, if you are feeling lonely, give. Whether it's a flower or a smile or some gratitude. She says she sat on the floor one day in her ratty apartment and just said, thank you. I'm so grateful that I have curtains on the window, even though they needed repairing or replacing. I'm so grateful that I have furniture. I'm so grateful that I have food in the cupboard. She started being grateful, and that's giving, because what that does is it opens up the lines of circulation, the circulation. So gratitude is very important. Let's see here. Where am I going next? Okay, the first slide I have, I think I have to go in here and share. Can I get rid of this? Got it? Okay, I'm going to share the screen. You've been looking at my second slide all morning. There we go. My first slide is that Maya Angelou said, I have found that among its other benefits, giving liberates the soul of the giver. Giving liberates the soul of the giver. The second one is Brene Brown. She says, until we can receive with an open heart, we're never really giving with an open heart. When we attach judgments to receiving help, we knowingly or unknowingly attach judgment to giving help. And the third one is, let me go over here. Where is that? I have to stop share and then go back. Come on. Oh, I see. I'm usually sitting at my desk when I do this. Is there like can I get this will go away? Usually it shows up down there and I can't see it down there. There it is. See, you're on the second one. Maybe go like this. Maybe just the arrow. I love help. This is called accepting. I am receiving your help with great gratitude. Thank you, Annie. I only have 2 slides? What happened? I had 8.
You saw them.
They were down below, yeah. There they are. Yay, 3.
Voila.
Oh, they're checked. That's why they're staying up there. All right, and the third one is from our very beloved Charles Fillmore. It is not money or the sight. Let's see, where am I? I've lost him. Oh, there he is. It is necessary to give freely if we are to receive freely. The law of receiving includes giving. This knowledge that substance is omnipresent and that people cannot therefore impoverish themselves by giving, but rather will increase their supply, will enable us to give freely and cheerfully. I love that. People cannot impoverish themselves by giving. We've heard you cannot outgive God, but rather will increase their supply. That will enable us to give freely and cheerfully. So how generous are you? And really the more important question is, how are you generous? How are you generous? I want to get rid of that. Stop sharing. Go away. Okay. How are you generous? So the more generous you are, the more ways you are generous, the richer you become. So some people are very generous with giving their time. They'll volunteer for just about anything. They give of their time, whether it's to their church or to their community, their hospital, their child's school. They give of their time. Well, guess what they get more of? Time to give. Time to give. And a lot of people give of their talent. And I'm not disparaging any of these, but I'm saying that the reality is that you get back what you give. So if you give of your talent, that's wonderful. All of you who are here have given so much of your talent to the success of this beautiful center. That's great. So how is that? What are you getting back? You're getting a lot of people with talent who have a lot of time to give. Treasure, that's the sticky point. A lot of us get caught up in that thing saying, if I give too much, I won't have enough. And that is where we need to really shift our consciousness. That is where we really show our lack of trust in the universe, is to think that if we give away our money, then we won't have enough for ourselves. And that is just the opposite of the truth of life. Because if we give of our money, that's what we get more of. We get more money to spend. There's another slide here for us. Let me see if I can find Bill Winston. Where is he? Well, if I can't find him up here, I will. Yeah, I don't know why it's not advancing. Oops. Should be 8. That's okay. I'll just read them to you. You can look at my beautiful face and I'll read you all my great quotes. It's just, it's funny. It's kind of figured out that I don't know. There we go. There you did. How did you get that? There we go. Yes, yay. Okay, on this one, Pablo Picasso, or where did Pablo come in? Well, that's one thing, but he actually shows up later. The one I wanted to share with you was this one. We make a living by what we get. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And these are people I consider to be very wise. They've been through some terrible, terrible things, and they've come out sometimes not unscathed, but they've left us with some amazing wisdom that we can live by. And this is one that I find has guided me for years. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. And it's not, again, just not about money. And then Woodrow Wilson says, you are here not merely to make a living, you are here to enrich the world, and you impoverish yourself if you forget the errand. Let me read that again. You are here not merely to make a living. You are here to enrich the world, and you impoverish yourself if you forget the errand. Have you ever asked yourself, why am I living at this time? Why am I living at this time? And there's a song that says, we are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So it is up to us from wherever we are to start right where we are to enrich the world. And how do we do that? Not just by giving money, but by giving our love, giving our talent, our time, our treasure. Yes. But all of that is so important. It wants to keep that check. There we go. Khalil Gibran says, well, that was back to him. This is fun. Khalil Gibran says, you give but little when you give of yourself, of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. It's when you give of yourself that you truly give. When Jesus called his 12 apostles together to send them out after his resurrection, he gave them power and authority to drive out all the demons and to cure diseases. And he sent them out to proclaim the kingdom of God and heal the sick. He told them, take nothing for the journey. No staff, no bag, no bread, no money, no extra shirt. Whatever house you enter, stay there until you leave that town. If people do not welcome you, leave their town and shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them. So they set out and went from village to village, proclaiming the good news and healing people everywhere. What this says to me is that Jesus was emphasizing the need for the 12 to completely trust in the generosity of God because of what they were giving. They were giving all these, teaching these truths, healing people, casting out demons, and that they would receive. They could be open to receive because they went out unburdened. They had no burdens. They had no needs. They just accepted the generosity of other people. It was a lesson that God is a God of love and generosity, and the blessedness of receiving the generosity of others, and that abundance is not earned, but is freely given by God. God takes care of all our needs through our openness to receiving and through the generosity of others. And then we have the parable of the Good Samaritan. One of the experts in the law asked Jesus, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus said, "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" He always put that back on them. I love it. The expert answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." So he had been listening, at least. "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this and you will live." But the expert wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "Well, who is my neighbor?" So Jesus said, "A man was walking on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he came upon robbers, and robbers attacked him and stole all his money and his goods and his clothes, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to stop by, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to that place and he saw the man on the side of the road, he too crossed on the other side. But a Samaritan, they were considered very unholy. As he traveled, he came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him and went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Those were very valuable gifts to be given someone he didn't even know. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 coins and gave them to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and when I will return, I will reimburse you for all that you may have spent." So Jesus asked the expert, "Which of these 3 do you think of was a neighbor to the man who fell to the robbers?" And the expert replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Mercy. Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." Mercy. When I heard the prayer request this morning for us to pray for those who have hate in their hearts, it's not just for them to let go of their hate, but for us to have mercy, to be a good neighbor, and to recognize that if they could do better, they would do better. We want that mercy from God, but we can't get that mercy until we also give that mercy. And that's kind of hard. It's kind of not an easy part of being a human. So we have that. This story just always fascinates me because it's so much about mercy, and mercy is something I think we're lacking a lot of in our world today. And here's another good story from the Bible, the home of Martha and Mary. I love this one. Jesus and his disciples were on their way home, and they came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be done. She came to Jesus and said, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you're worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, and indeed Mary knows what they are. She's chosen what is better, and that will not be taken away from her." Because we get so caught up in the busyness of life that we forget what's really important. What's really important is each other, our own mental, spiritual health, our community, our loved ones. All of that's what's really important. And sometimes in the busyness of a day or in the midst of a crisis, we just have to stop and be present and know that everything right in this moment is right where it needs to be. And that, just that stopping for a moment takes away for me anyway, takes away a lot of the burden and the pressure. My husband has been having some physical problems lately, and it seems like he's in the hospital a lot. And so when I leave his room and I'm heading back to the car to go home for the night, I just have to stop, because I find myself thinking, what next? Or how's this one going to end up? Or whatever that may be. And I just have to stop and say, it's all right now. And that just pulls me in so that I'm not scattered in a million directions. All right. Sometimes we're given opportunities to help people outside of our worldview. In Genesis 45, we find Joseph responding graciously and generously to his family, even though they had really been awful to him. And logic would say, don't treat them nice. Look what they did to you. But when they saw him, when he was in the land of Pharaoh, they said, perhaps Joseph will hate us and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him. They sent messengers to Joseph, saying, before your father died, he commanded by saying, thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespass of the servants of God of your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. And then his brothers fell down and said, we are your servants. He said to them, do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save more people alive. Now, therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. So sometimes giving to a project or a cause makes absolutely no sense to anyone but ourselves. It's the kind of situation where a Gentile would build a Jewish synagogue. And that's kind of a test. It's called a grace check. It gets at the very heart of the commitment of being a generous person. Moving beyond our humanity is the hardest thing to overcome. Setting aside differences in order to help do the right thing with your generosity is an act of real maturity, true Christ-likeness. Of course, your consciousness has to guide you as to where you invest your treasure and your resources, but it is healthy to keep an open mind. And there may be places where your heart naturally goes, like to this center, to want to give, to build up the resources so that you can continue as a community, to continue to thrive, to continue to attract people who are interested in this message, to continue to attract a minister who is just the right fit for you, to know that you can pay that person what they deserve as a living wage. All of that comes from our own willingness to be generous, and not just here, but in our own lives, in our own community. Because that generosity builds upon itself. When you're generous as a generous person, it's a way of life. It's not something that you become when you become rich. You become generous by being generous. And even if it's a $5 donation here or a $10 donation there, or maybe challenging yourself to increase your donation to the church every week by $5 or every month. Just giving yourself that little challenge that says, I can do this. I can do this. I know of many people who have literally transformed their lives because they realized how healing it is to be generous. There's the story of Zacchaeus in the Bible. It's a story of a transformed giver. I love this story. He forsake the norm in order to give, moved by Jesus' call to come back to God's ways. He morphed from a collector of money to a giver of money. So this, in a way, is a picture of redemption. We always know, how can I be redeemed? We can be redeemed by literally changing. And the only place we can ever change is in our thoughts, our opinions, our beliefs. We don't change the world until we change ourselves. We've all heard that. I saw a big truck driving down the freeway the other day that said, "Be the change." And it was like a lawn construction company truck. I thought, well, maybe the word is getting out. So there's my last slide, or my second to the last slide is, it is my last slide. No, I can't see it. You can see it? Good. It's Amit Ray, and he said, if you want to ask one question, ask yourself, what are you giving to the universe? And only that will be returned. What are you giving to the universe? And only that will be returned. In Luke 6:38, he says, give and it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. So you can't go to the ocean with a teacup and expect to get a gallon of ocean water back. You can't go with a gallon and expect to get a bucket full. You have to, you give what you expect to receive. And then when you want to receive more, even though it seems irrational and illogical, you give more. That's why I say increase your giving by a little bit every month or every year, so that you feel good. It makes us feel good to be generous. It makes us feel good. And then not only does it make us feel good, but it fills our coffers back up again. And then in Luke 12:33, he says, sell your possessions and give to the needy. Provide yourselves with money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. And in Malachi 3:10, it says, bring the full tithe into this storehouse, so that there may be food in my house, and thereby put me to the test, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour down a blessing for you until there is no more need. Those are the promises of God. So we need to learn to trust God. We need to ask, where is my trust? Is my trust in the economy? Is it in the government? Is it in the bank? Is it in money? Money is just energy. Money is energy. Energy is changed, but it is never destroyed. So we just need to get our head in the right place that says, as I give, so shall I receive. And the as I give is not about the amount. It is not about that. It's the consciousness with which we give. It is the generosity, the spirit with which we give. So I'd like to just close with two quotes from Ernest Holmes. And these guys, I know these guys are long-winded. Things are gotten better, but they're long-winded back in those days. So just hang in there with me. The law of nature is to use or lose. The people who are truly prosperous are generous souls. Even our intellects become sluggish if unused. Our muscles become flabby from a lack of use. Talents unused seem to disappear. We must bear in mind that there is an inflow, and only by permitting an outflow to pass the blessings on do we widen the channel for the inflow. This thought alone should cure us of any thoughts of hoarding. And he says, we should give of ourselves in love and in service to others, in a spirit of generosity and good fellowship. To refuse to give is to refuse to receive, for everything moves in circles. Real giving is the givingness of the self. A kind word, a thoughtful act, just a smile can help lighten the burdens of others. So let's take this into prayer. And so as we just reflect for a moment on all that has gone on here this morning, all the preparations, all the challenges, all the people who so willingly stepped in to help, we know that this is truly God in action. But this is proof of the presence of God. For love knows no bounds. Love has no conditions. It simply moves where it is needed. It moves where it is accepted. And it moves where it is not acknowledged. For even though God is a God of love, God is also a God of freedom. And that freedom gives us the freedom to choose. And so let us choose love. Let us choose generosity, knowing that we can never lose by choosing to be like God. That we can truly never lose, for all we ever do is learn and grow, evolve to the next glorious experience of life. And so for all those who are here in this room this morning, for all those on Zoom, I give thanks knowing that that spirit of community unites us all. It gives us a reason. It gives us a purpose, a mission to bring together all that is good for the good of all. And so I simply give thanks for all that has been given and received this morning, for this opportunity to speak my truth and have it heard and honored. And I know that the God within us honors each one of us, and that the law that is the law of life is always working in our favor. It's up to us to choose what we have it work on. And so I know that today, right now, we are open and receptive and giving and loving. And for this, I am so grateful. As we say together, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Karen. That was wonderful. And now, and thank you sis so much. And now we move into our love offering prayer affirmation blessing. So online, well, probably won't show up today. So if you would like to give online, go to Unity at the Lake's website, Unity South Lake Tahoe, or hold it, no, Unity. Phyllis, help me here. UnityAtTheLake.org. Thank you. I'm just having a day. And you can, there's a drop down menu, you can go to, and it'll take you to PayPal where you can donate. And if you're here, of course, that's wonderful. But if you also would like to send in a check, you can do that. But there is no address on this thing, so I can't tell you the address, but it's on the website. And it's on the weekly update. This is so funny. I don't have my paperwork today that I brought, and it is like I'm just
Juliet
lost.
has been doing so much for all of us. Thank you, Juliet, for everything you do. We have so much mercy and grace for your getting your thoughts straightened with us.
Oh, you know, some days you just have to kind of like, okay, this is it, God. You know? And so I would love to, really love to have Kathleen come up and do the Kelly, can you come up, please? Oh my God. At least I can laugh at myself. And we love you. And we love you.
Oh, so after that beautiful message about generosity and giving, it is now the time to prepare our love offerings. And if you would like to hold that in your hand and say the love offering prayer with me. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful.